as the war was drawing to a close, I was assigned from General Patton's headquarters to go into the concentration camps as they were being liberated and to collect evidence for later trials, which the Germans had been warned would await them if they continued the atrocities. And then I went from camp to camp. The horrors of the camp, I assume, are well known to you. I don't suppose anybody can really understand and imagine the fear and the suffering of the inmates. The camps themselves were total chaos. People running around the SS trying to run out, the inmates trying to catch them, kill them, beat them to death, burn them alive. I've seen all of that. And my job then was to go to Berlin, set up an office, and find the documentation to prove the guilt of the suspects. Because if you have a suspect and no evidence, you cannot go to trial. If you have the evidence and no suspect, you cannot go to trial. So my job was to put them together. Then a very interesting thing happened. One of my researchers came to me one day and he said, "Look what I found." And he presented me with 2 or 3 big lights ordners. And the heading on the top was Geheime Reichssache, Ereignismeldungen aus der UdSSR. And these were reports from the front by strange units called Einsatzgruppen. Nobody could translate SS Einsatzgruppen. Nobody knew what that meant. And that was deliberately secret. Because their job was to go behind the German lines as the German army advanced and kill every single Jewish man, woman, and child they could lay their hands on. Do the same for the gypsies and the same for anybody else suspected of being a potential risk to the Third Reich. That was their assignment. And that's what they did. They made one very big mistake. Every day they wrote a report, Ereignismeldungen, and they listed which unit, Einsatzkommando A, B, C, and D, or Einsatzgruppe A, B, C, and D, Einsatzkommando 8, 9, 10, 7, 11, and 12, entered this town, and within the first 24 days, 24 hours, we succeeded in eliminating 14,312 Jews, 8,300 additional, 200 gypsies, and they listed how many people they had murdered in each town. And I took a little adding machine and I began to add them up. And when I had added over 1 million people murdered in cold blood that way by these 3,000 men who were members of the Einsatzgruppen, I took a sampling. I took the next plane from Berlin, where I was, to Nuremberg, here. General Taylor was here in charge, and I said, "General, we have to put on another trial." He said, "We can't. The Pentagon has approved 12 trials. We don't have room for anything else. We don't have staff. We don't have budget." I said, "It's impossible. You have here cold-blooded mass murder never before seen in human history. You cannot let these men escape." And he said, "Can you do it in addition to your other work?" And I said, "Sure." So I became the Chief Prosecutor in the biggest murder trial in human history, by pure chance. The judges were sitting on this side, the defendants were sitting there, the door to the basement where they were kept in the jail was that door. They came up on a little revolving elevator, the door would open, and the 3 American judges who were sitting right here, this way, facing the defendants would put on the earphones. They would hear, "For the crimes of which you have been convicted, this tribunal sentences you to death by hanging." Take off the earphones, nod, step back, the door would close, drop down into hell. I did not feel any great joy at this great victory, not at all. In my opening statement, I had made it clear to the judges that vengeance was not my goal. Not our goal, I said. The case we present is a plea of humanity to law. These people were murdered because they didn't share the race or the religion or the ideology of their executioners. I thought it was a terrible thing to kill 1 million people just because they're a different color, a different ideology. I still think it's a terrible thing. I always thought it was a terrible thing. And so I asked the court to affirm by international criminal law the right of all human beings to live in peace and dignity, regardless of their race or creed. So the most important thing, however, is to prevent it from happening again. It's, this has happened, it's over, you're doing your best to heal the victims, you're stopping the war, you're trying to educate the people that it's a crime against humanity and should be punished. What do you do now? Well, in order to stop it, being a lawyer, I look first at the rule of law. We need an international criminal court. If you're dealing with international crimes, you should have an international court. And war-making itself, as this International Military Tribunal held, was the supreme international crime. And I guarantee you, as a combat soldier, it is. All the other crimes take place in war. There's never been a war without massive rapes of the women. Never. And there never will be. War is the biggest atrocity of all. So I came out with a hatred of war and a determination to try to stop war-making itself. Well, they said that's a pretty crazy idea. I mean, mankind has always gone to war. That was the road to glory, to power, to prestige. Who is this nut? How do you say that in German? I don't know. But this peculiar guy who wants to stop war-making. Well, you're looking at him. And how do you do that? Well, first you try to get some laws passed, and then you try to set up a court to deal with it. They said it couldn't be done. Everybody said it couldn't be done. I was just a dreamer. Well, that was 50 years ago. Today, we have the International Criminal Court. We need an international criminal court. If you're dealing with international crimes, you should have an international court. And war-making itself, as this International Military Tribunal held, was the supreme international crime. And I guarantee you, as a combat soldier, it is. All the other crimes take place in war. There's never been a war without massive rapes of the women. Never. And there never will be. War is the biggest atrocity of all. So I came out with a hatred of war and a determination to try to stop war-making itself. Well, they said that's a pretty crazy idea. I mean, mankind has always gone to war. That was the road to glory, to power, to prestige. Who is this nut? How do you say that in German? I don't know. But this peculiar guy who wants to stop war-making. Well, you're looking at him. And how do you do that? Well, first you try to get some laws passed, and then you try to set up a court to deal with it. They said it couldn't be done. Everybody said it couldn't be done. I was just a dreamer. Well, that was 50 years ago. Today, we have the International Criminal Court. We have International Criminal Tribunals for Yugoslavia, for Rwanda. We have International for Cambodia. International Criminal Tribunals are popping up like mushrooms in a field. Said it couldn't happen. It's happening. Is it perfect? No, it's terrible. But it's a prototype. It's the beginning.